I remember the exact moment things started to go wrong, though I wouldn't realize it until much later. It was my wife Julia's 36th birthday, and I surprised her with a gift I thought would be both thoughtful and supportive. A personal training package at one of the nicer gyms in town. We'd just come out of a rough winter, and she'd been down on herself about gaining a little weight. Nothing serious, but I knew it bothered her. "Babe," I told her as I handed her the gift envelope, "I just want you to feel good again. For you, not for me." She laughed and hugged me, burying her face into my shoulder. "You're sweet, you really are, thank you." Her eyes were glassy, and I chalked it up to birthday emotion. I didn't know then that I was giving her the keys to the door she'd eventually walk out of. The trainer's name was Alex. I met him once. Tall guy, late 20s, lean, charismatic in that overconfident way. Wore those black compression shirts like they were stitched onto him. I didn't think much of it at the time. I mean, I was the one paying him. That was the first mistake, assuming money bought loyalty. Over the next few weeks, Julia started going to the gym more regularly. At first, it was 2 or 3 times a week. Then 4, then 5. She started going early, sometimes before work, sometimes after dinner. I was proud of her, honestly. She looked good, happier, more energized. But as her confidence grew, I noticed something else. She stopped inviting me to come along. I didn't push. I figured maybe she needed something that was just hers. But something started to change between us. Subtle at first. Our conversations shortened. She stopped checking in during the day. I'd send her a dumb meme, and she wouldn't even reply until hours later, if at all. Still, I refused to let paranoia set in. I told myself it was just a phase. We've been married 8 years. Every couple has dry spells. But then came the night I found her phone on the couch. It was past midnight. She'd gone to bed early after claiming she was exhausted from work. I was shutting off the lights when I saw her phone lighting up with a notification. I wouldn't normally snoop, but the name that flashed across the screen made my stomach twist. Alex. Just that, no last name. Just a message preview that read, "Still thinking about last night. You wore me out?" I didn't even open it. I didn't have to. That was the moment. The one I'd replay in my head over and over, wondering if this had all started because I tried to be supportive. If I'd unknowingly handed my wife over to someone else as a birthday gift. But I didn't confront her. Not then. I just sat there on the couch, holding her phone, staring at the screen until it dimmed and left me in the dark. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling with my chest tight and my thoughts spinning. I heard her breathing next to me, slow, steady. She looked peaceful, like someone with nothing to hide. That almost made it worse. I kept asking myself the same question over and over. Could it really be true? I wanted to believe there was some innocent explanation. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it wasn't even that Alex. Maybe it was a friend, a trainer friend, making an inappropriate joke. But deep down, I knew better. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions without proof. I remembered what my buddy Mike told me when his wife cheated. He said, "Don't go in guns blazing. Get the facts, then burn the bridge." So, I waited. I started paying attention, watching, quietly. I checked her phone's location history through our shared Apple account, a feature we both turned on years ago when we were traveling and wanted to track each other for safety. It showed she'd been to the gym, but also to a nearby hotel. Twice, during the day. Once was the same day she told me she had a long lunch meeting with a client. I kept all this to myself, bottled it up tight. I even smiled through dinner with her parents that weekend, pretending everything was normal while my world was slowly coming apart. She was different around me now too. Not distant, not exactly. But careful, overly polite, like she was afraid to step on a landmine. She'd touch my arm when she passed me in the kitchen, compliment my shirt, even initiated sex once that week, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. It felt off, like she was trying to smooth something over without saying what it was. That's when I knew for sure, she was hiding it. Hiding him. I made an appointment with my attorney the following Monday. Her name was Dana Lawson. She came highly recommended and handled high net worth divorces, something I never thought I'd need. Dana was all business. "You want to win this?" she asked. "You need evidence. Undeniable evidence. You can't just say she cheated. You need to show it." So I gave her the screenshots. I showed her the tracking data. I even printed out the phone record that showed long, late-night calls to an unsaved number, which I later confirmed through a gym employee was Alex's cell. Dana looked through it all, then leaned back in her chair. It's not quite enough. We need pictures, video if possible. If you want to protect your assets, your house, your savings, your retirement, you're going to need to prove infidelity. Otherwise, it's 50-50. I nodded. Do what you have to do. That afternoon, Dana connected me with a private investigator. Guy named Randall, ex-cop, quiet, sharp, no nonsense. He talked like someone who'd seen too much and didn't get surprised by much anymore. I'll need a week, he told me. Maybe less. Fine, I said, just don't let her know. He just smiled. She won't. That night, I sat across from Julia at the dinner table, listening to her talk about how she might sign up for a nutrition certification course, something Alex had apparently recommended. I nodded along, pretending to be supportive, while inside I was preparing to destroy her world. It was a strange feeling. Not anger, not yet, just cold clarity, like the version of me that once adored her had gone quiet, and the man sitting there now was someone else entirely. I didn't know where this road was leading, but I knew I'd started walking it the moment I picked up her phone. And there was no turning back now. 4 days later, I got the call. I was in my office, pretending to focus on quarterly reports, when my phone buzzed with a text from Randall. It was short, direct. You'll want to see this in person. Tonight? I left work early and met him in a strip mall parking lot about 20 minutes from my house. The guy looked exactly how you'd expect, black baseball cap, camera bag slung over one shoulder, the kind of presence that could blend into any background. I remember thinking, this man has ruined lives with nothing but a zoom lens. He opened the back of his SUV, set his tablet on the trunk, and tapped the screen. She's not subtle, he said, not even looking at me. What I saw made my hands go numb. There she was, Julia, my wife, stepping out of her car in leggings and a zip-up hoodie, looking casual. Smiling, walking toward a nondescript motel entrance, not one of the chain hotels, but one of those off-brand roadside joints. The kind people rent by the hour, not by the night. Alex met her at the door. They hugged, not a friendly hug, not a, see you at the gym, hug. It was the kind of hug where bodies disappear into each other. Then a kiss. Long, too long. Randall had pictures, video, time-stamped. This wasn't a one-off thing. It had been happening for weeks. She usually meets him Tuesdays and Thursdays, between 11:30 and 1 o'clock, Randall said. Same room, same place. My legs started shaking. I have more, he added. But I figured you'd want to decide how far you want this to go. I stood there for a while, silent, staring at the footage on loop, like watching a car crash you couldn't look away from. And the weirdest part? I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt still, numb, like the moment was too big for any one emotion. Eventually, I asked, you get audio? He shook his head. No need. The photos are more than enough for your attorney. I nodded, then paid him on the spot. He handed me a flash drive and a typed report, all neatly organized. I remember feeling sick about how clinical it all was. My marriage, reduced to a USB stick and a stack of paper. That night, I didn't go home right away. I sat in my truck in a supermarket parking lot, just letting the engine idle while I stared at people walking in and out. Smiling, buying groceries, living normal lives. I envied them, in a way. People who didn't know, didn't suspect. People still living inside the lie, comfortable in it. Eventually, I made it home. Julia was already there, stretched out on the couch with her laptop open. She looked up, surprised. Hey, you're home early. Yeah, I said, slow day. She smiled. Want to order Thai? I just nodded and went upstairs. Took a shower, stared at my face in the mirror for what felt like an hour. That night, I lay beside her in bed, wide awake, pretending to sleep. She rolled over at one point and put her arm across my chest. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I felt like a corpse, waiting to be buried. I had the proof now. Cold, hard, undeniable. But I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet, no. If she wanted to lie to my face, if she wanted to play house while sneaking off with someone I paid to help her, then fine. Let her dig her own grave. Me? I was already working with Dana on a strategy that would leave her with nothing. The betrayal was done. Now it was my turn. By Friday, The act was starting to slip. Julia was still doing her usual routine, gym in the morning, back by lunch, working from her laptop in the kitchen like always. But something had changed. Maybe it was me, maybe it was her, or maybe it was just harder to look someone in the eye when you know you've been living a lie. She kept looking at me longer than usual, asking questions she didn't use to ask. How was work today? Everything okay, babe? You've been quiet lately. Are we good? I just smiled through it all, said the right things, pretended to be tired or distracted, gave her soft smiles and vague nods, like I was still here, still invested. But inside, I was counting down the days. The truth was, Dana had already begun preparing the initial filings. With Randall's report and photographic evidence, we could file under fault-based grounds, adultery. In our state, that would allow me to seek a disproportionate division of assets, especially since I had significantly higher earnings and we had no prenup. I'd built a software company from the ground up over a decade. The house? In my name. The vacation property up north? Mine before we married. I was generous, had been for years. She never had to work if she didn't want to. I set her up with a part-time marketing consulting gig from a friend just so she could feel fulfilled. I gave her everything, and now, I was going to take it all back. But I wasn't rushing. No, I was watching. Because something in her had started to shift, and I needed to see where it was going. That Saturday, I found her sitting on the porch in her hoodie, staring out into the backyard with a cup of coffee, something she never did. I stepped outside and sat beside her. You okay? I asked. She looked startled, like she didn't expect me to notice. Then she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Yeah, just thinking. About? She looked down at her mug, swirling what was left inside. Life. Us. I don't know. Maybe I'm just tired. I nodded. Well, if something's bothering you, I'd rather hear it than guess. She looked at me then, really looked, and for a second, I thought she's going to come clean. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but then she just shook her head. No, I'm okay. Just, in my head today. I didn't press. The next day, I noticed she left her phone unattended on the kitchen counter while she was upstairs. That never used to happen. She'd take it with her everywhere. Sleep with it under her pillow. Now, it was just lying there, unlocked, screen dimmed. A test? Or maybe guilt was finally sinking in. Part of me wanted to open her texts, dig through her photos, see what new lies she'd been feeding Alex. But I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I already had everything I needed. Let her keep pretending. Let her think she was in control. I wasn't angry anymore. I was patient. Every evening we spent watching TV on the couch. Every dinner we shared like a normal married couple. It was all borrowed time. She didn't know it yet, but her world was already being dismantled behind the scenes. And I'd be the one holding the match when it burned. It happened on a Tuesday night. Julia came home from the gym around 7:30, same as usual. Hair still damp from the shower, makeup reapplied, that faint vanilla lotion scent she always wore when she wanted to feel pretty. She gave me a kiss on the cheek like always. But this time, I flinched, just barely, but she noticed. You okay? She asked, frowning. Yeah, I said, just tired. We sat in silence through dinner, eating takeout Thai at the kitchen island. She picked at her noodles. I watched her. She finally broke the silence. You've been different lately. I shrugged. Maybe. Are you seeing someone? The question stunned me, not because I hadn't expected it, but because of the sheer hypocrisy. I actually let out a short laugh. She blinked like I'd slapped her. What's funny? She asked. Nothing, I said. It's just, you're asking me that? She paused. Her eyes searched mine. What's that supposed to mean? I leaned back on the stool and looked at her, really looked at her. She looked nervous. Her foot was bouncing under the counter. Her fingers were fidgeting with the edge of her napkin. I didn't say anything, just kept looking. That's when her defenses cracked. You're scaring me, she said softly. Why are you looking at me like that? I stayed quiet. Ryan, she said, almost a whisper. If something's going on, you can talk to me. We're supposed to be honest with each other. I looked down at my plate, then back up. You sure about that? She swallowed. Her face changed. She knew. I watched the color drain from her cheeks. How long has it been going on? I asked, voice calm. She stared at me, frozen. With Alex, I added, making sure to say his name slowly. Your trainer. The one I paid for. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. I leaned in slightly. How long, Julia? And then she broke. She started shaking her head, eyes welling with tears. It wasn't supposed to happen. It got out of control. I didn't mean for it. How long? I said again, more firmly. She wiped her face with both hands. A few months. A few? She nodded slowly. 4, maybe 5, I don't know. We never planned it. I sat there for a second, letting the silence do the heavy lifting. Then I stood up and walked to the sink, rinsing my plate just to give myself something to do. Something to not look at her. I never wanted to hurt you, she said behind me. I felt lost. And Alex he made me feel like I mattered again. I turned around. You mattered here. I gave you everything. I gave you freedom. I gave you trust. I gave you a damn personal trainer because you said you felt invisible. She was crying harder now. I know. I was stupid. No, I said, you were selfish. She tried to come closer, but I stepped back. She stopped in her tracks like I'd drawn a line in the tile. I don't hate you, Julia, I said, but I don't know who I'm looking at anymore. I can fix this, she said quickly. Please, just don't throw everything away. We've built a life together. You threw it away, I interrupted. I'm just finally waking up. And with that, I walked past her and upstairs. She didn't follow. That night, I slept in the guest room. Door locked. My phone screen lit up around midnight with a message from Dana. Ready to file whenever you are. Just say the word. I stared at the message for a long time. And for the first time in weeks, I finally slept. The next morning, Julia wasn't in the kitchen when I came down. No coffee brewing. No music playing like she usually did. The house was dead quiet, and it suited me just fine. I poured my own cup, sat at the table, and checked my email. Dana had sent over the finalized divorce filing, attached as a PDF. All it needed was my signature. Alongside it was a list of asset protections already in motion. Primary residence placed in irrevocable trust, already mine before the marriage. Vacation home in Vermont, never touched joint funds, so not considered marital property. Business shares protected under a post-nuptial agreement we'd signed after our second year of marriage when I started expanding the company. Everything else? Up for negotiation, but not much to split. Julia had never shown much interest in the finances. I paid the bills, I handled the investments, I did the paperwork. At the time, I thought I was making her life easier. Now, I realized I'd accidentally insulated myself from the storm she was about to walk into. By 10 a.m., Dana had already filed. Julia still hadn't come downstairs. She finally emerged around noon, wearing one of my old sweatshirts like she used to when we were first dating. Like it could still mean something now. Her eyes were puffy. She hadn't slept either. You didn't come to bed, she said. Nope. She stood there like she didn't know what to say next. Are we? Is this really it? I nodded. Papers were filed this morning. It hit her then. I could see it. The moment reality landed like a brick to the chest. She slumped into the chair across from me, hands trembling. You didn't even talk to me about it. Talk? I said. We passed that exit about 5 miles ago. She started crying again, but this time it wasn't guilt. It was fear. She knew what came next, or at least, she was starting to understand. I can't afford to live on my own right now, she said, voice cracking. I don't even have a full-time job. I don't have anything saved. I just stared at her. She looked up at me like I was supposed to fix it. Like the man she cheated on was still supposed to make sure she landed softly. You'll be fine, I said coldly. Alex seems like a motivated guy. She flinched. Besides, I added, I'm sure he'll be thrilled to find out he's the reason you'll be walking away with nothing. Her voice was barely a whisper. You said you didn't hate me? I don't, I replied. But I don't owe you anything anymore. I got up and left the table. By Friday, she'd moved into a rental apartment on the other side of town, a cramped, overpriced one-bedroom that was all she could manage on what little freelance marketing work she was still clinging to. She asked to come back home, for a few weeks, while she figured things out. I said no. Alex? He didn't last long. I don't know the details. Don't care. But from what I've gathered, things got messy once Julia needed something more than hotel rooms and protein shakes. He ghosted. Blocked her. Gone. She sent me an email 2 weeks later. Long. Apologetic. Begging for a second chance. said she realized what she'd lost. I didn't even respond. Instead, I forwarded it to Dana, just in case she tried to challenge the fault-based filing. Let her sit with the silence. Let her finally understand what it means to be truly alone. 6 months later, the house felt bigger. Not quieter. I'd made peace with the silence, but clearer, somehow. Like the air itself was lighter without the weight of pretending. The divorce had been finalized 2 weeks earlier. Fault-based. Settled in my favor. Julia walked away with a small lump sum and her car. No alimony. No property. No stake in my business. She kept her last name. I didn't care, but everything else was mine. I never once raised my voice during the entire process. She did, a few times, during mediation, when she realized what fault-based divorce really meant in this state. When Dana read through Randall's report aloud in that conference room, Julia didn't even deny it. She just sat there, eyes hollow, like someone watching the last train leave the station. I looked over at her once during that meeting, not out of spite, but curiosity. I was trying to see if I could find the woman I married in that face. The one who used to call me during lunch breaks just to hear my voice. The one who once cried when I got her a new laptop because no one had ever done something so thoughtful. She was gone. That realization didn't sting the way I thought it would. It brought peace. There was no grand moment of revenge. No fiery confrontation. No screaming in public or friends taking sides. Just paperwork, cold facts, a clean cut. She texted me twice since the final hearing. Both messages were short. I'm sorry. Do you think we could ever talk again someday? I didn't answer either. Not because I hate her. I don't. I just don't have anything left to give her. Instead, I've been living differently. Not chasing something new. Not yet. But taking care of myself again. Sleeping better. Working out. Eating real food instead of takeout 5 nights a week. The kind of things that slipped when I was busy trying to hold up a marriage that someone else was quietly tearing down. My weekends are slower now. I read more. I cook. I even signed up for a woodworking class, something I'd always wanted to do, but never had the time for. Funny how that works, right? All the space you gain when you stop fighting to keep what wasn't real anymore. Some nights I think about what might have happened if I'd confronted her earlier. Or if she'd confessed on her own. If we could have gone to counseling, tried to salvage it. But I always come back to the same answer. She didn't give me the chance. She made her choice in secret. And I made mine in the light of day. The real victory wasn't in taking everything away from her. It was in finally choosing myself after years of being the only one trying. That's how betrayal ends, not with a bang, not with a fist through the wall, but with a quiet moment of clarity. A locked door, a clean signature, and the sound of your own life beginning again.